This is a quick demo of the curve drawing tool that's been added to Blender. This works in curve edit mode, so rather than sort of extruding and editing the handles, you can just draw a curve directly. So this is based on OpenToons, the code from OpenToons, although there's a sort of an algorithm that they in turn have been based on, which is quite general, and most applications such as Inkscape use this as well. So this is a typical sort of curve you'd expect from a 2D vector application. I'm just going to turn the normals off. And there's nothing really that special about that, although it is handy, of course, to have the ability to draw this kind of curve. However, I'll just go into some of the 3D options for curve drawing, which is a little more specific to Blender. So I'm going to make the curve have some shape, to make it solid so you can see it, and give it a material. Make it extra bright. Okay, so to test this, I'll add some objects to draw onto, and then show how it works. So I'm making these quite highly subdivided, mainly so the curve draws smoothly onto them. It'll work either way, but it just looks a bit nicer if the curve is not sort of jittery based as it goes over the faces. So there's a new options tab, and here there's sort of the tolerance and corner detection, those you'd find in most 2D drawing applications, but there's some other options for mapping the pressure, the minimum and maximum pressure to the tablet pressure, and tapering the radius, which is sort of handy. So okay, so let's do a sort of a standard drawing onto the surface. And guess it does what it's supposed to do. You can turn the radius down there, and you can see the width that it draws changes. Alright, just going to turn the tolerance down a little bit, and that means that between these surfaces it'll give quite good, it'll follow the corners quite well. Alright, so as well as this, I'll just turn ambient occlusion on, it looks a bit nicer. As well as this, you can use tablet pressure. So I'm just turning that on, and I'll make the radius a bit higher because I'm not going to be pushing super hard on the tablet the whole time. Okay, so I'm switching to the tablet now, and probably a bit wide still. I'll make the tolerance a bit higher because it was a little jittery before, as in the curves were a bit too closely spaced. Okay, so this is sort of what you'd expect, and the tapering can be used. It looks rather nice just to make the end points. That's actually a bit much, maybe 0.2, 0.2, and this means that it'll taper the ends off to points. If you have the values are really high, as in 0.5, it'll taper along the entire length of the curve. Like this. Okay. So I'm just demoing how that works. And you can draw on top of the curves as well, so like this. We might want to have that as an option later, whether you might not want to draw onto the curves and only draw onto objects outside of edit mode, but we'll see. Okay, so that's kind of strange, but anyway, that's a demo of how drawing onto the surface works. But you might want to draw sort of into the I don't know, off. Might want to draw off the surface or have things coming out. And in that case, doing this doesn't work so well. You don't want to draw directly onto the surface for every pixel, you just want to do it for the first. And there's an option called only first, and that allows you to do just this. I'm just going to turn the start taper off, and demo this. So this just uses the surface normal that you first draw onto, and makes a line coming out from that, and you can see it's coming towards the view. So unlike a lot of sculpt tools, not a lot of, I guess, sculpt tools that you just drag out and it uses the view plane, this is using the surface normal. Not always what you want. If you draw, I don't know, it might be a bit confusing, but that's handy, and you can use the surface normal, or sorry, the surface plane, and in this way you're just uses the place where you start drawing as a plane that you draw aligned with. Alright. And the view plane, which is similar, but it just, yeah, just aligns to the view. It's quite simple. Something I didn't mention before is the offset, and that can be used to push away from the normal where it starts drawing. So you might, well, hang on, you might want to draw sort of above rather than just aligned with, and that works in all the different surface modes. So you can turn off only first, and you can see here that it draws directly on top of, instead of sort of when it's 0 it goes sort of between, and if you do -1, well, close to, it draws under, which is not really so useful, but yeah, you can, I guess, make it a little bit higher. Oh, the taper, by the way, the taper is not taken into account. That's why the second half isn't visible. So I'll just turn that off, and yeah, this will, you'll be able to see it. Yep, so it's kind of pushed back. Okay, so that's pretty much it. A few other things. You can adjust the curve once you've drawn it. You can adjust the options, so you can see the redo panel, the error here. A lower error gives you more curves, more points, I mean, in the curve, and a higher error allows you to have a much simpler curve. Though if you do very high, it takes all the detail out of the spline. So yeah, yeah. So I think that's it. I'm sure people can make much more interesting artwork than I'm making now, but I hope you find it useful.